Dear viewers, the following stories are inspired by real events. However, the names of the characters have been changed to protect privacy. Story 1. The Woods Behind the House. It was a gloomy autumn afternoon in 2016. At a house located on the edge of a small forest in Marietta, Georgia. We will call our main character a boy named Ethan Bell. Ethan, 12 years old, was a curious boy who loved to explore. The forest behind his house was always one of his favorite places. That day, after finishing his homework, Ethan decided to go out to the woods behind his house to play. He brought a wooden stick and a small bag to collect any treasures he might find. When Ethan stepped into the forest, he immediately felt a difference compared to other days. The air today was eerily silent, with no birds singing or leaves rustling. The sunlight barely managed to penetrate the dense canopy, creating dim patches of light on the damp ground. Ethan went deeper into the forest. He liked the feeling of adventure and discovering new things. He walked along a small stream, then turned onto a trail he had never taken before. As Ethan was engrossed in looking at the strange mushrooms growing by the side of the path, he suddenly tripped over something. He looked down and saw a small, old wooden box. The box was locked with a rusty latch. Ethan felt very curious. He tried to open the box, but the latch was stuck. Finally, he used his wooden stick to pry it open, and the latch snapped. Ethan excitedly opened the lid of the box. Inside, he saw an old diary, a few yellowed photographs, and a human tooth. Ethan shuddered. He didn't understand why these things were in a box buried in the woods. He picked up the diary. The pages were yellowed and torn in several places. Ethan carefully turned each page, trying to read the faded handwriting. The lines told of a man who lived in this forest many years ago. A man with dark secrets and cruel deeds. Ethan felt a sense of unease rising within him. He looked at the photographs. They were pictures of people he had never met, but their eyes conveyed fear and suffering. He picked up the human tooth. It was small and sharp, probably a child's tooth. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He quickly placed the tooth back in the box, closed the lid, and hugged the box tightly to his chest. Ethan felt he shouldn't stay in this forest any longer. He turned and ran quickly towards his house, carrying the mysterious wooden box and the terrifying secrets it held. He had no idea that finding that box was just the beginning of even more terrifying things to come. Ethan ran straight back to the house, his heart still pounding in his chest. He burst inside, slammed the door shut, and leaned against it, trying to catch his breath. He still held the wooden box tightly in his hands. Ethan took the box up to his bedroom and placed it on his desk. He sat down on the chair, staring at the box with a mixed feeling of fear and curiosity. He knew he shouldn't open it again, but an invisible force seemed to be urging him to explore the secrets inside. Finally, Ethan couldn't resist any longer. He gently opened the lid of the box. Inside, besides the diary, the photographs, and the human tooth, he also saw a lock of dry, dark brown hair and a small knife with a rusty blade. Ethan shuddered. These objects evoked a terrifying image of a dark past. He picked up the diary and continued reading. The following pages told of even more cruel acts, mysterious disappearances, and screams echoing in the dark night. As Ethan read the last lines of the diary, he suddenly heard a strange sound coming from outside his bedroom window. It was a light scratching sound, as if someone was dragging their fingernails across the glass. Ethan startled and looked up. He looked out the window. but only saw the darkness engulfing the backyard. He thought maybe it was just a stray cat. But a feeling of unease still lingered. The scratching sound came again. This time clearer and louder. Ethan felt real fear. He quickly slammed the diary shut and stuffed it back into the box. Closing the lid tightly, he stood up, went to the window, and looked out again. This time, he saw a shadowy figure standing under the old tree at the end of the yard. The figure was tall and thin, standing silently, not moving at all. Ethan felt a cold dread spread throughout his body. He couldn't clearly see the figure's face, but he had a terrible premonition that it was the person who had written this diary. An evil spirit trapped in the woods behind his house. The figure slowly raised a long, skinny arm towards Ethan's bedroom window. He could clearly see its bony fingers trembling. A cold, eerie sensation spread throughout the room. Ethan knew that thing knew he had its box. Ethan quickly backed away, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew he had to do something. He couldn't let that evil thing into the house. He had to protect his family. Ethan ran downstairs, calling out for his parents. But no one answered. He remembered his parents were away for the weekend. He was completely alone in this house, facing an evil force from the woods behind his house. Ethan grabbed the phone and called 911, his voice trembling as he recounted what he had seen and heard. He pleaded for help, hoping the police would arrive before it was too late. While waiting, Ethan knew he had to face this horror alone. He gripped the wooden stick tightly in his hand, determined to protect his home and his loved ones from the evil ghost from the woods behind his house. The story of Ethan in the woods behind his house is a reminder that sometimes the darkest secrets lie hidden right behind our own back doors. And once we open them, they can haunt us forever. Story 2. Shadow Under the Moonlight. It was a full moon night in April 2023. At a small house with a large garden on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. We will call our main character Olivia Reed, a 25-year-old woman living alone. Olivia enjoyed the tranquility and often spent her evenings reading or working in her backyard garden. That evening, after finishing dinner, Olivia took a cup of tea and sat on the swing placed under a large oak tree at the end of the garden. The bright moonlight shone on everything, creating a peaceful and poetic scene. Olivia closed her eyes, enjoying the fresh air and the chirping of insects. Suddenly, she heard a strange sound coming from behind the back fence. It was a soft rustling, as if someone was moving in the bushes. Olivia opened her eyes and looked towards the fence. The shadows under the dense bushes made it impossible for her to see clearly. She thought it was probably just a wild animal that had wandered into the garden. But the sound came again, this time clearer and closer. Olivia felt a little uneasy. She stood up and softly called out, "Is anyone there?" There was no answer. Only the sound of a light breeze blowing through the leaves. Olivia decided to go inside. But as she turned around, she suddenly saw a shadowy figure standing just on the other side of the fence. The figure was tall and thin, standing silently, not moving at all. The moonlight shone directly on the figure, allowing Olivia to see it more clearly. She was horrified to realize that it wasn't a normal person. The figure seemed to have no face. Where the facial features should have been was just a terrifying black void. Olivia stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt an overwhelming sense of fear engulf her. She wanted to scream, but her throat tightened, and no sound came out. The faceless figure slowly raised a long, bony arm towards Olivia. Its hand trembled, as if it wanted to touch her. Olivia felt an icy gust of air blow towards her face. carrying a foul, fishy smell. Olivia backed away, trying to keep her distance from the terrifying figure. She stammered, Who are you? What do you want?" The faceless figure remained silent, just standing there staring at her with the black void where its face should have been. Suddenly, the figure began to climb over the fence, moving slowly but menacingly. Olivia knew she had to run. She turned and ran as fast as she could towards the back door of the house. Not daring to look back, she could hear the soft but steady footsteps of the figure chasing after her. Olivia burst into the house, slammed the door shut, and locked it. She leaned against the door, panting and listening. The terrifying footsteps seemed to have stopped, but Olivia still couldn't feel safe. She knew that what she had just seen in the backyard was not an illusion. It was real, and it was out there somewhere, in the darkness, waiting for her. Olivia leaned against the door, panting, trying to calm herself. She listened, but couldn't hear any more sounds from the backyard. However, the fear still clung to her, like an inescapable dark shadow. She knew that thing was still out there somewhere, perhaps lurking in the darkness. Olivia rushed to the living room window and looked out into the garden. The moonlight was still bright, but everything was eerily silent. There was no sign of the faceless figure. Am I just imagining things? She wondered. But her heart told her otherwise. She decided to call her best friend, Sarah. The phone rang several times before Sarah finally answered. Olivia, what's wrong? You sound strange. Olivia tried to stay calm as she recounted what she had just experienced. Sarah sounded very worried and advised Olivia to call the police. Taking her friend's advice, Olivia tremblingly dialed 911. She briefly described the strange, faceless figure in her backyard. The dispatcher reassured her and said they would send someone to check immediately. While waiting for the police to arrive, Olivia didn't dare take her eyes off the window. She felt incredibly uneasy and helpless. Suddenly, she heard a very soft sound coming from downstairs, the floorboards creaking. Olivia held her breath and listened intently. The sound became clearer, as if someone was walking very slowly inside her house. Olivia was horrified to realize that the faceless figure had gotten inside. She quickly locked her bedroom door and hid in the closet. Clutching her phone tightly, she tried not to make any noise, praying for the police to arrive quickly. From the crack in the closet door, Olivia could clearly hear heavy footsteps moving around downstairs. The footsteps stopped right outside her bedroom door. Olivia felt her heart stop. She knew that thing had found her. A light scratching sound came from the door, and then the door slowly creaked open. Olivia squeezed her eyes shut, trying to stifle a scream. She felt an icy gust of air blow towards her face, carrying the familiar foul, fishy smell. A hoarse, cold voice whispered right in Olivia's ear. I know where you are. Olivia couldn't take it anymore. She screamed in terror and fainted in the dark closet. When the police arrived, they found Olivia unconscious in the closet, the bedroom door wide open. They found no signs of an intruder. But Olivia never felt safe living alone in that house again. She was forever haunted by the image of the faceless figure and the cold voice echoing in the dark night. It was rumored that the garden behind Olivia's house used to be the burial ground of a serial killer. And his evil spirit still lurked somewhere, searching for new victims in the darkness under the moonlight. The story of Olivia and the shadow under the moonlight is a reminder that sometimes the scariest things are hidden in the places that seem most peaceful and familiar. Darkness always conceals terrifying secrets that we never want to uncover. Story 3. The strange scent in the backyard. It was a hot summer evening in 2008. At a house in a quiet suburb of Cincinnati, Ohio. We will call our main character Sarah Miller, a 35-year-old woman living with her husband and 2 young children. The backyard garden was Sarah's favorite place, where she often relaxed after a stressful day at work. That evening, after putting her children to bed, Sarah decided to go out to the garden to water the plants. Her husband was away on a business trip, so she was home alone. The dim moonlight shone down on the garden, creating strange shadows of the trees. As Sarah was watering the rose bushes, she suddenly smelled a very strange scent. It wasn't the smell of flowers, nor the smell of damp earth after the rain. The scent was sickly sweet, pungent, and had a slightly metallic tang to it, making Sarah feel a little nauseous. Sarah stopped and sniffed more carefully. The scent seemed to be coming from the far end of the garden, near the fence that separated her house from the vacant lot next door. That lot had been abandoned for many years, with overgrown weeds and bushes. Sarah felt curious, so she took her flashlight and walked towards the end of the garden. As she got closer to the fence, the strange scent became even stronger, making her feel a bit queasy. She shone her flashlight through the fence, trying to see what was on the vacant lot. At first, she didn't see anything, just tall bushes and tangled weeds. But when Sarah shone her flashlight down at the ground, she suddenly saw something that made her heart stop. It was a dark puddle of liquid, looking like blood, soaking into the soil. The pungent, metallic scent she smelled was probably coming from here. Sarah backed away in horror. She didn't understand what was happening. Why was there a puddle of blood in the vacant lot behind her house? She quickly ran into the house, locked the door, and called her husband. He reassured her and said he would call the police immediately. While waiting for the police to arrive, Sarah didn't dare take her eyes off the window overlooking the garden. She felt incredibly worried and scared. The strange scent still lingered faintly in the air, making her feel uneasy. A little while later, the police arrived and inspected the garden and the vacant lot next door. They found the puddle of blood that Sarah had seen, and they also discovered a few strange footprints on the damp ground. The police told Sarah that they would continue to investigate, but they advised her to be careful and not to go outside alone at night. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep at all. The strange scent and the image of the puddle of blood haunted her mind. She kept feeling like something dark and terrifying was lurking in the vacant lot behind her house, and it could come back at any time. After the police left, Sarah still couldn't feel at ease. She tried to sleep, but every time she closed her eyes, the image of the dark puddle of blood and the pungent, metallic scent reappeared. She tossed and turned until near dawn before finally dozing off for a while. The next morning, when she woke up, Sarah still felt tired and worried. She decided to call a close friend, a private investigator named Mark, to ask for his help in investigating the matter. Mark agreed immediately and said he would come to her house in the afternoon. In the afternoon, Mark arrived at Sarah's house. After listening to her recount everything, he went straight out to the garden to inspect. He walked along the fence, carefully observing the vacant lot next door. Mark found a few more strange footprints and a few long, black strands of hair caught on the fence. Mark collected these pieces of evidence and told Sarah that he would take them back to the lab for analysis. He also promised to find out more information about that vacant lot. A few days later, Mark called Sarah with news that horrified her. The analysis results showed that the puddle of blood Sarah had seen was human blood. The hair found on the fence was also human hair. And even more terrifying, Mark discovered that the vacant lot had been the site of a gruesome murder in the 1980s. A young woman had been brutally killed. And the killer had never been caught. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she heard these words. She began to believe that some supernatural force was haunting her backyard. The strange scent she had smelled was probably the smell of death. And the ghost of the murdered woman was perhaps still lingering somewhere. The nights that followed became a nightmare for Sarah. She constantly heard strange noises coming from the garden. Soft footsteps on the grass. Faint whispers. And even muffled sobs. The pungent, metallic scent also appeared more frequently. Especially on full moon nights. One night, as Sarah was sleeping, she suddenly woke up with a feeling of coldness enveloping the entire room. She opened her eyes and was horrified to see a shadowy figure standing at the end of her bed. Staring at her, the figure was a young woman, with long black hair and a pale, tear-streaked face. Sarah tried to scream, but no sound came out. The ghost of the woman slowly raised a cold hand towards her. Sarah felt an overwhelming terror seize her body. She knew that the evil spirit had come to reclaim what was hers. And she was in real danger. Will Sarah be able to escape this terrifying haunting? What secrets are still hidden in the vacant lot behind her house? We will find out together in the next developments. If you found this story chilling and want to hear more similar stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for listening.